Good evening. You're watching the news tonight, your daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell and these are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Japan pledges $12 billion to India to build its first bullet train, and the two sides also signed 16 other agreements. Participating nations of the Tapi gas pipeline project reiterate commitment to it. India hopes it will secure the country's energy security. Final draft of the global climate deal presented to representatives in Paris. Draft will be adopted if there are no objections at the ministerial meeting. And in a historic first in Saudi Arabia, women exercised their right to franchise in the municipal polls. 978 women also contesting alongside male candidates. The top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe are in Varanasi for what is being seen as the highlight of the Japanese Prime Minister's three-day India visit. Varanasi is not only Prime Minister Modi's Lok Sabha constituency, but also the sister city of Kyoto. The two leaders are at the Dashwamedh Ghat for a cultural program and the traditional Ganga Aarti. Special arrangements have been made at the Ghat for the cultural extravaganza. Later, the two leaders will attend a banquet where Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav, Governor Ram Nayak and state ministers are likely to be present. Earlier, the ties between India and Japan got a boost as the Prime Ministers of Asia's second and third largest economies met in Delhi and held talks on a range of bilateral issues. Japan has not only pledged $12 billion in soft funding for India's first bullet train, but also earmarked another $12 billion for the Make in India initiative.
$12 billion, that's the amount Japan will give India to build the country's first bullet train. The deal to build a high-speed train line between Mumbai and Ahmedabad gives Japan an early lead over China. The country is still conducting feasibility studies for high-speed trains on other parts of the Indian rail network.
We greatly appreciate Prime Minister Abe's extraordinary package of approximately $20 billion and technical assistance on very easy terms for this project. This enterprise will launch a revolution in Indian railways and speed up India's journey into the future.
The two sides also signed defense deals under which they will share technology, equipment and military information, even though the much-anticipated sale of Japanese aircraft in a deal worth about $1.1 billion was not concluded. On the civil nuclear technology front too, while they agreed to work towards cooperation, the two sides stopped short of signing an agreement. This was attributed to outstanding technical differences. Japan has been demanding additional non-proliferation guarantees from India before it exports nuclear reactors.
The memorandum we signed on civil nuclear energy cooperation is more than just an agreement for commerce and clean energy. It is signing symbol of a new level of mutual confidence and strategic partnership in the cause of peaceful and secure world.
Japan has also earmarked $12 billion for the Make in India initiative, and for the first time, Japan will import cars from India. Maruti Suzuki and Japanese companies will manufacture in India before exporting the cars to Japan.
India in the current fiscal year are expected to be approximately 400 billion yen. Through such efforts, Japan will support improvement in quality infrastructure in India, the Make in India policy, and Japanese investment in India.
Earlier, Abe met President Pranab Mukherjee at Rashtrapati Bhavan.
All these agreements are intended towards strengthening the infrastructural facilities in India so that industrial growth can take place and employment opportunities can rise. But there is also a subtle message to China to resolve conflicts with India so that it can take part and benefit from India's growth. Akhilesh Suman with camera person Shiv Kumar in Delhi for Rajya Sabha Television.
Now, all four partners of the ambitious $10 billion gas pipeline between Turkmenistan and India have reiterated their commitment for its early implementation. Leaders of all four countries, that's Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan and India, said this in Ashgabat, where they are attending the Peace and Neutrality Conference. The groundbreaking ceremony of the Tapi gas pipeline will be held at Murree on Sunday to start work on the Turkmenistan leg of the pipeline.
India, Pakistan, Turkmenistan and Afghanistan have renewed their commitment for early construction of the nearly 1,800-kilometer long $10 billion gas pipeline project. The pipeline will carry natural gas from Turkmenistan to India via Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Tomorrow, we will flag off the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Tapi gas pipeline, which we both recognize to be a key pillar of our economic engagement and which is in consonance with the particular emphasis that Turkmenistan puts on economic aspect of neutrality.
The project has been in the works for 5 years now, but has not taken off due to lack of an international consortium to build it. Turkmenistan has decided to lead the consortium with 85% stake, while India has agreed to acquire 5% stake. Partner countries are discussing the transit fee, pricing formula and other issues. Both Afghanistan and Pakistan agreed that the Tapi project would become center of trade and transit.
Pakistan is promoting other regional energy and infrastructure projects, including the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline project, Kasa 1000 electricity project, the Kunar power project, and connectivity projects with Afghanistan.
The groundbreaking ceremony of the over 200-kilometer long leg of the pipeline in Turkmenistan will be held in Murree on Sunday. Securing reliable and cost-effective sources of energy in India's neighborhood is important for securing the country's energy security, as the country imports nearly 80% of its crude and gas.
ये मध्य एशिया के अंदर जो कूटनीतिक संपर्क अपना है, आगे चल के रशिया के साथ हमारी बातचीत चल रही है, कजाकिस्तान के साथ बातचीत चल रही है, ईरान के साथ बातचीत चल रही है। उस इलाका से एनर्जी को भारत के अंदर ले जाना, इस प्रोजेक्ट एक बहुत बड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर होगा।
Turkmenistan has the world's fourth largest reserve of natural gas. Construction of the Tapi pipeline and another proposed pipeline between Iran, Pakistan and India would go a long way in diversifying and securing sources of energy for India to meet its challenges of rapid growth.
Construction of Tapi gas pipeline will integrate South Asian buyers like India and Pakistan with Turkmenistan in a manner that will lead to economic prosperity, peace and stability in the region. Krishnanand Tripathi, Ashgabat, Turkmenistan.
Vice President Hamid Ansari also attended the International Conference on Neutrality in Ashgabat today. Lauding Turkmenistan for its policy of neutrality, Vice President Ansari said India always supported its effort to build friendly ties with neighbours. He also assured that the Central Asian country that India would continue its work for development and stability.
At the International Conference on Neutrality, Peace and Development in Ashgabat, Vice President Hamid Ansari drew a parallel between the neutrality of Turkmenistan and the non-aligned movement. He appreciated the Central Asian country for its commitment to building harmonious relations with its neighbours, adding that India has always supported its neutral status.
The idea of neutrality or its use as a political concept is not unknown to India. The basic values that underlie the policy of neutrality are of peace, non-violence, and peaceful resolution of disputes. This has remarkable similarities with the overall approach of the non-aligned movement, the fundamental objective of the latter also being preservation of world peace and security, and of which Turkmenistan is now an active member.
The Vice President congratulated the people of Turkmenistan on the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the status of permanent neutrality by the country. He also lauded the great bond shared by the two nations.
India wishes the Turkmen people and government further success in their policy of neutrality as we work together to address the challenges of cross-border terrorism, fundamentalism, and extremism. We will be your true partners in your striving for regional and global peace and sustainable development.
The conference was attended by leaders of as many as 20 nations, including Russia, Iran, Pakistan and Afghanistan. With camera person Saroj and Sandeep Shukla in Ashgabat, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The blame game between the government and the opposition is far from over on the issue of disruptions in the winter session of Parliament. While the government is quite keen on getting the GST bill passed this session, the main opposition, as the Congress's top brass, will brainstorm on Sunday to finalise the party's strategy for the remainder of the session.
With just 8 sittings left before the winter session ends, the government is running out of time to get the Parliament's nod on its key reform measure, the GST bill. Proceedings in both houses have been disrupted time and again on one issue or the other. The Congress, though, claims that the disruptions have nothing to do with the National Herald case involving both its party president and vice president.
अगर ये लोकसभा राज्यसभा नहीं चल रही है तो उसका मुख्य कारण हम लोग नहीं है। स्वयं जेटली जी के शैलजा जी के प्रकरण में जिस प्रकार से बयान दिया उसकी वजह से गतिरोध हुआ 3 दिन के लिए। उसके बाद वीके सिंह जी ने दलितों के अपमानजनक शब्दों का उपयोग किया, उसके लिए हुआ। उसके बाद लोकसभा में वीरेंद्र सिंह जी जो सांसद हैं भाजपा के चंदौली के, जिस प्रकार के नीच शब्दों का उपयोग उन्होंने किया, उसकी वजह से हम लोगों को दिक्कत आती है। क्यों नहीं इस बात को आप समझते हैं? क्या गतिरोध पैदा करने के लिए वे जिम्मेदार नहीं हैं?
The ruling party BJP, however, says the Congress finds itself increasingly isolated in its protest inside Parliament.
I think the Congress party has lost its nerve, has lost its balance, and is feeling completely cornered and is feeling completely isolated. And they have to blame themselves. They cannot blame either the government or the BJP. And the sooner this wisdom dawns on them, the sooner they participate in the legislative process in Parliament, they'll be able to recover a part of their lost prestige. If they continue to hold Parliament to ransom, the public will consider this as their revenge tactics for being made accountable to the court of law in this country.
Meanwhile, the prospects of a forward movement on GST appear on the horizon, with the government giving some proposals to the Congress, expecting a response by Monday. Sources say a meeting of the Congress top brass will be held on Sunday to take a call on the proposals regarding the GST bill and also the party's future strategy in Parliament. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Assam Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi will be the Congress party's chief ministerial candidate in the 2016 Assam State Assembly elections. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi made the announcement in Guwahati today. Speaking to media persons, Rahul said the party has full confidence in the leadership of Tarun Gogoi and the Assam Pradesh Congress Committee. On the issue of alliance with other parties, Rahul said the decision would be taken by state leaders at a later stage. India's and Pakistan's foreign secretaries will meet next month in New Delhi. The announcement comes just days after External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met her Pakistani counterpart Sartaj Aziz in Islamabad. Both have pledged their commitment to re-engage in bilateral talks. The foreign secretaries will focus on the details of the newly announced comprehensive bilateral dialogue. Pak advisor on foreign affairs Sartaj Aziz said that they will decide on the modalities and schedule of the dialogue. All issues including Kashmir and terrorism would be part of the peace talks. Political leaders have welcomed the move.
भारत पाकिस्तान के रिश्ते अच्छे हों, इसकी कोशिश भारत की तरफ से रहती है। जो व्यवधान आया है वो हमारी तरफ से नहीं आया था। हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि भारत पाकिस्तान के रिश्ते अच्छे होंगे और आतंकवाद पर हम लोग जीरो टॉलरेंस की नीति के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और आगे बढ़ेंगे।
India-Pakistan talks are destined to fail. The reason for that is the Pakistani defense establishment continues to belabor under the humiliation of the 1971 defeat. Till the time the Pakistani security and strategic establishment does not emancipate itself from that mindset, no dialogue, no engagement between India and Pakistan will ever succeed.
पाकिस्तान के साथ वार्ता करने के हम समर्थक हैं। सरकार स्पष्ट करे कि क्या पिछले 1.5 वर्षों में 2 वर्षों में पाकिस्तान के एटीट्यूड में, भारत के प्रति रवैये में कोई फर्क महसूस भारत सरकार ने किया है?
I think that the government should come out very clear and clean on it. Otherwise, it somehow gets we somehow get the feeling that when nothing changed substantially, how we have suddenly woken up to this new kind of avatar from both the sides.
Let's now take a look at other national news stories nationwide. Mumbai Police Commissioner Ahmad Javed has been appointed India's ambassador to Saudi Arabia. 1980 batch IPS officer Javed is scheduled to retire on January 31st, 2016. He'll be the 4th IPS officer to be appointed as India's envoy to Saudi Arabia in an assignment which is traditionally a domain of the Indian Foreign Service. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha has announced compensation of 4 lakh rupees each to the kin of the 23 people killed in the worst floods witnessed by the state in a century. Drowning, wall collapse and electrocution were the major reasons listed for the deaths of the 23 people. The Delhi government has decided to bring all auto rickshaws and taxis under the ambit of the one app called Poocho, facilitating commuters to book them through smartphones. This will be done on a trial basis during the 15-day trial of the odd-even scheme starting January 1st, 2016. There are around 8,000 auto rickshaws and 30,000 taxis plying in the national capital. The app will be launched on the 22nd of December. The West Bengal government has removed the public prosecutor in the Park Street rape case, Sarbani Roy, from the post. The reason given for her ouster is that she went beyond her jurisdiction in the case and acted without consulting the government. The state's law minister said Roy overstepped her jurisdiction in pleading with the judge that the degree of punishment for the convicted be kept to minimum. The government has imposed import duties for 5 years on stainless steel imports from China, the European Union and the United States. This as it tries to protect local companies suffering due to unfair competition. Imports from South Korea, South Africa, Taiwan and Thailand will also be taxed. Time for a quick break right now. On the other side, the overnight siege in Kabul ended with security forces killing all 3 Taliban militants. Details on the other side.
Hello and a warm welcome to It's My Life. Let's meet Kavita Rao this time.
Rama 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 Viyalo, Ramanesvi Rama Viyalo. I am a very thorough non-vegetarian. I love chicken and keema. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. G में से निकले गांधी जी. गांधी जी ने खाया गन्ना, उसमें से निकला राजेश खन्ना. Watch me on It's My Life, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, the final draft of the global climate deal has been unveiled by Summit President Laurent Fabius in Paris. Fabius called it a fair deal and reiterated commitment to limit global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. Now, the world leaders will vote on accepting it. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar expressed hope that India's concerns have been taken care of in the final draft.
The end is in sight. Let us now finish the job. The whole world is watching. Billions of people are relying on your wisdom. The time has come to acknowledge that national interests are best served by acting in the global interest and solidarity.
The final global climate draft deal is on the table. Now it is for the world leaders to vote on it and decide whether to adopt it. Conference President Laurent Fabius endorsed the deal as he said that the global pact would represent a historic turning point.
Toutes les conditions sont réunies pour obtenir un accord universel ambitieux. Et probablement, les observateurs le reconnaissent, les conditions n'ont jamais été aussi favorables, si je puis dire.
Ce texte
sera, si vous en décidez, le premier accord universel de l'histoire des négociations climatiques. Vous allez faire un choix.
If adopted, the agreement would set an ambitious goal of halting average warming at 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures. It also proposes to achieve a balance in the greenhouse gas emissions in the second half of this century. Progress will be reviewed every 5 years, and most importantly, the draft proposes $100 billion a year in climate finance for developing countries by 2020. Reports suggest that developing countries are happy with provisions in the final draft, especially those on climate financing. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar said Modi's dream of climate justice is evident at first glance. Nearly 200 nations will now review their existing commitments before the deal comes into force in 2020. The next round of review will be in 2023 and new commitments in 2025 and every 5 years from there on. With the stage all set for a vote, hundreds of activists marched in Paris demanding climate negotiators to respect the target of limiting global warming to 2 degrees Celsius. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The siege in Kabul ended early morning on Saturday after hours of gunfighting between security personnel and Taliban fighters. All 3 Taliban fighters were killed, as well as a Spanish security official.
Security forces in Afghanistan suppressed a suicide attack on a guest house near the Spanish embassy in Kabul. 3 Taliban militants were killed after hours of intermittent gunfighting and explosions. The fighting lasted into the early hours of Saturday. The attack in the heavily protected part of the Afghan capital also killed a Spanish security officer and killed or wounded 5 Afghan police.
خارجی و داخلی در آپارتمان‌های امجوار و در خود اینمی آپارتمانی که میهمانخانه اسپانوی بود گیر مانده بود که ما وارم نجات دادیم. صرف 2 نفر اسپانوی که یکیش زخمی و یکیش کشته شده و متاسفانه بگوییم که 4-5 نفر از پلیس کابل شهید و زخمی شدن و 9 نفر از هموطنان ما زخمی شده که زخمی ها به وقت و زمانش به شفاخانه انتقال شد و ما تانستیم کم از کم تعداد 47 نفر خارجی و داخلی را نجات بدیم.
This attack is the latest in a series of attacks on foreign targets in Kabul. It began with a suicide attacker detonating a car bomb near the guest house in the embassy area, creating enough diversion for 3 gunmen to take up positions and open fire on security forces.
یک گرم است که فقط میگه ایت ساختمان تکان خورد. باز بیرون دوده برآمدم که تو با یه خاک دو دست که چی میکنی؟ باز شروع شد دیگه جنگ شروع شد. تا صبح بود قریب ساعتای 12 بجه یک جنگ شده شد.
The attack also came on the heels of an attack on the Kandahar airport, again carried out by the Taliban. At least 50 civilians and security personnel were killed in that attack. It is also a grim reminder of the security situation in Afghanistan just days after President Ashraf Ghani returned from a regional peace conference in Pakistan, where he sought support to revive peace talks that had stalled last year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Women in Saudi Arabia are voting in the country's first municipal election for the first time ever. Women have also been allowed to contest the polls this time around. The decision to allow the right to franchise to women was taken by the late King Abdullah. The results are expected later on Saturday.
I think we're proceeding gradually into integrating the woman and giving her all of her rights to participate, fully participate in the society.
It's my first time to elect in our country, and actually I'm coming here to support one of my friends. I believe in our future, I believe in our rules as a female, supporting our country.
One small step, but a giant leap for the women in Saudi Arabia. For the first time in the history of the country, women have been allowed to exercise their franchise in municipal elections. There is much more to rejoice on the path to gender equality in the country, with women also being allowed to stand as candidates. 978 women have registered as candidates alongside almost 6,000 men.
يعني عندنا كتجربة أولى 130,000 من اللي سجلوا في الدورة هذه
24% من أعداد المسجلين في الدورة هذه. أتصور أنه رقم جيد بالنسبة كمشاركة أولى للنساء.
Reports so far suggest a large turnout of women voters. Even though the municipal elections will bestow them with only a few powers, it's still a milestone for Saudi women. Female candidates were asked to speak behind a partition during campaigning or be represented by a man.
في إقبال كبير من المرشحات، وهذا يدل على أنه إن شاء الله راح نشوف ناخبة يعني مرشحة يعني أعضاء مجالس بلدية من الأخوات السيدات، وأنا أتصور أنه وارد جدا وبنسبة كبيرة. إحنا عندنا ضوابط شرعية تمنع وجود صورة المرأة. خلينا نكون صريح يعني واضح.
Results are expected late on Saturday. This is the third time in the history that Saudis have gone to polls. There were no elections in the 40 years between 1965 and 2005. Late King Abdullah is the one who approved the decision to allow women to vote, a decision seen by many as part of his legacy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now let's have a look at all the other international news stories in Global Buzz. Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar has concluded his 4-day visit to the US. The United States welcomed Parrikar's visit and called it a sign of deepening defense ties between the two countries. Parrikar held wide-ranging talks with top leaders on several regional and global security issues. He also held closed-door discussions with his American counterpart, Ashton Carter. At least 34 people were found shot dead near Burundi's capital, Bujumbura, on Saturday. This comes just a day after an unidentified group carried out several coordinated attacks on 3 military installations in the country. The army said 12 attackers were killed, 20 others have been arrested. An investigation is underway. The Ukrainian government's yearly report presentation ended up in a brawl inside parliament on Friday. Fighting broke out after a member of President Petro Poroshenko's parliamentary bloc physically picked up Prime Minister Yatsenyuk and pulled him from the podium. Yatsenyuk was defending his government's record. The incident has exposed deep divisions in the pro-Europe coalition. New Zealand is a step closer to finalizing its new national flag. They've picked up a blue and black design with a silver fern as the preliminary winner in a referendum. The runner-up is a similar-looking red, white and blue flag. The final results will be announced on Tuesday after the overseas votes are also counted. The move comes after Prime Minister John Key said that the country's current flag was too similar to the Australian flag. Well, that's news tonight. Good night.